The council chamber went silent the moment the alien guard grabbed my arm and twisted it behind my back. I had not expected violence, not here, not on the first day of Earth's admission into the Galactic Council. 1 second I was standing beside my translator pad, waiting for my turn to speak, and the next second a tall, gray-skinned officer named Vren had crossed the room and seized me like I was nothing more than a piece of furniture to be moved out of his way. My name is Daniel Hartley, and 3 minutes earlier, I had been the most nervous man in the galaxy. Now I was something else. Now I was afraid. Beside me, sitting calmly on the polished floor, was Bram, my dog. A brown and black shepherd mix with sharp eyes and a quiet way of watching everything. I had brought him because Earth's delegation was allowed one personal companion each, and because the thought of walking into an alien council chamber without him felt unbearable. Nobody told me he would need to do anything but sit there and look loyal. The moment Vren's claws dug into my shoulder, Bram was already moving. It happened faster than I could describe it, even now, even after replaying it in my mind 100 times. There was no growl of warning, no slow rise to his feet. One moment he was resting. The next moment he had crossed the space between us and knocked Vren backward, with a force that sent gasps rippling through the entire chamber. Vren released me and stumbled, more startled than hurt, his eyes wide with something I had never seen on an alien face before. Fear. The chamber, filled with dozens of species from 100 different worlds, fell into complete silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the translator drones hovering near the ceiling seemed to pause mid-rotation, waiting to see what would happen next. I stood frozen, my heart hammering, one hand pressed against my shoulder where Vren's grip had been. Bram stood between us, steady on all 4 legs, watching Vren without blinking, without a single sound leaving his throat, now that the moment of danger had passed. An older alien with pale blue skin and long draping robes rose from the council seats. I recognized her from the briefing files. Ambassador Osith, one of the oldest and most respected voices among the founding species. She looked at Bram for a long moment, then looked at me. "Explain this creature," she said, her translated voice calm but edged with something I could not name. I swallowed hard, trying to find words that would not make things worse. "He is a dog," I said. "A companion animal. On Earth, dogs have lived beside humans for over 30,000 years." A ripple of quiet laughter moved through parts of the chamber, not from Osith, but from smaller groups seated near the back, aliens with sharp teeth and mocking postures, who clearly found the idea amusing. One of them, a lean reptilian delegate named Chas, stood and spoke without being asked. 30,000 years, he repeated, his voice dripping with amusement. "And this is what you bred, a small 4-legged beast that barks and begs. We were told humans were dangerous. We were told to be cautious. Instead, we find you carrying pets like children carry toys." More laughter. My face burned with embarrassment, but I said nothing yet, because I could see Vren still recovering behind me, and I understood that Bram had just done something no one in this room expected from an animal they considered weak. Osith raised a hand, and the laughter faded, though the smirks did not disappear. "Officer Vren," she said, turning to him, "why did you approach the human delegate in such a manner?" Vren straightened, trying to recover his dignity. "I wished to test him," he said, "to see if the humans possessed any true instinct beneath their soft appearance. I intended no lasting harm. It was a demonstration." I felt anger rise in my chest, quiet but sharp. A demonstration. He had grabbed me in front of the entire council, simply to prove a point about human weakness, and instead, he had proven something else entirely. Osith's eyes moved to Bram again. The creature responded to a threat against its human companion within less than 1 second, she said, more to herself than to the room. "Explain the bond between your species and this animal, Ambassador Hartley. I wish to understand." I was not an ambassador, not really. I was a linguist attached to the delegation, thrown into this role because I happen to know 3 of the alien languages fluently. But nobody corrected the title, and I did not have time to argue about it now. I knelt down and rested a hand on Bram's head, feeling the familiar warmth of him grounding me. On Earth, I said, dogs were once wild animals, hunters that lived apart from us. Over thousands of years, they chose to live alongside humans, and we chose to protect them in return. It became something deeper than ownership, something closer to family. Chauce made a dismissive sound. Sentiment, he said. A pretty story. It does not explain how a soft prey animal moved faster than my colleague Vren, who was trained in combat for over 200 years. That word, prey animal, hung in the air, and I saw something shift in the room. A few of the other delegates, ones who had been watching quietly, leaned forward with new interest. He is not prey, I said, my voice steadier now. That is the mistake every species in this room seems to be making. Earth's dogs were bred from wolves, apex predators that once hunted alongside early humans as equals. We did not tame something weak. We formed a partnership with something powerful, and asked it to trust us instead of fear us. Osith studied Bram for a long moment, then studied me. And if the threat had been real, she said slowly, if Officer Vren had intended true harm, what would this creature have done? I hesitated, because I did not want to answer that question in front of a room that had already decided humans were harmless. Bram answered for me. He turned his head toward Vren, held his gaze without hostility, but without any hint of submission either, and the message was clear enough that even the translator drones did not need to process it into words. Vren looked away first. A murmur passed through the chamber, quieter this time, less mocking. Chauce opened his mouth to say something else, but Osith raised a hand again, silencing him before he could speak. There is a saying among my own people, Osith said, addressing the room now, rather than just me, that the wisest hunters are the ones who choose their companions carefully, because a companion chosen well becomes a second set of eyes, a second set of instincts, loyal beyond reason. It seems the humans discovered this truth long before they discovered the stars. I felt something loosen in my chest, a tension I had been carrying since the moment Vren grabbed my arm. Bram sat back down beside me, calm again, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. Vren, still recovering his composure, straightened his uniform and addressed the council directly. I misjudged the situation, he admitted, though the words clearly cost him something. I intended to demonstrate human weakness. Instead, the creature demonstrated something else. I offer no excuse. It was the closest thing to an apology I expected to get, and honestly, it was more than I had hoped for. Chauce, however, was not finished. One creature, he said, waving a clawed hand dismissively. One unusual bond between one man and one animal. This proves nothing about humanity as a whole. I looked at him, and for the first time since stepping into this chamber, I felt something other than nervousness. I felt a strange, quiet confidence. Dogs are only one example, I said. Humans keep many companion animals. Cats, small and independent, capable of taking down creatures many times their size when threatened. Horses, bred for strength and speed, trusted enough to carry us into places we could never survive alone. Birds trained to hunt from the sky and return home when called. Every one of these bonds took thousands of years to build, and every one of them was built on trust, not control. The chamber had gone quiet again, but this time it was the silence of consideration rather than mockery. I could see it on several faces, the slow realization that the joke they had been enjoying moments earlier had revealed something they had not expected, that the softness they associated with weakness might actually be the surface of something far older and far more complicated than they understood. Osith rose fully from her seat, her long robes settling around her. This council will take note, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber, that Earth's companion species are not decoration, nor are they weakness. They are partnership, built across an unimaginable span of time, and partnership of that kind should never be mistaken for softness. She turned to Vren. You will offer a formal apology to the human delegation before the day's session ends. Vren bowed his head, accepting the order without argument. Osith's gaze shifted to me one final time, and something in her expression had changed, softened, though I could not fully read alien expressions yet. You may proceed with your address to the council, Ambassador Hartley, she said. I believe we are now listening with different ears. I nodded, my throat tight, and looked down at Bram one more time before stepping forward to begin the speech I had prepared. He looked back at me, calm and steady, exactly the way he always did before something important, and I understood then that he had not just defended me in that moment. He had spoken for all of us, in the only language that needed no translation at all. As I walked toward the podium, the whispers around the chamber had changed completely. No more mockery, no more dismissive glances toward the quiet animal resting near my feet. Instead, there were long, careful looks, the kind reserved for something newly understood and quietly respected. I began to speak, my voice steady now, carried by something Bram had given me without a single word. Behind me, he settled onto the floor and closed his eyes, at ease, as if the weight of an entire council's judgment meant nothing at all compared to simply being close to the one person he had chosen to protect. And for the first time since arriving among the stars, I felt certain that Earth would not be laughed at again.